people have asked and I am here to answer. Let's just go ahead and get into it. And today I actually have some clips from my friends from the Tourette's podcast. Jeanelle Bean and Brittany Wolf will be helping me answer some of your questions today. There are multiple answers to things, and so much of this experience is so individualized and complex. And actually having some of those multiple answers to give you, it's like a really good way to show an example of that. So the first question was really more of just someone asking me to speak about a specific topic, and that topic is CBIT. CBIT stands for Comprehensive Behavioral Intervention for Tics. So, okay, what the hell does that mean, right? Comprehensive Behavioral Intervention for Tics, it's a behavioral therapy, and a really important thing to note with this is that although it is a behavioral therapy made for Tourette Syndrome and other tic disorders treatment, and really namely like tic management, that is not to say that Tourette Syndrome is a behavioral disorder. Any CBIT provider that you encounter is going to reiterate this as well. Tourette Syndrome is a neurodevelopmental condition, and for a very long time, there were no really good like non-pharmacological treatments / management practices for tics, specifically like for tics specifically, outside of, you know, like the big kahuna, DBS, deep brain stimulation, which is a whole surgery. And then, you know, there's Botox, which is also an FDA approved thing that's not really exactly like taking everyday prescription pills to help with tics. But, you know, anyway, like in the early 2000s, there was a need, or really like a yearning, and there had been for a bit. Yearning's a weird word to use for this. I'm gonna go back to a need / yeah, there was a need, for something that was like a therapy to, you know, help manage tic symptoms. And a bunch of doctors came together with the Tourette Association of America, and there was like a behavioral consortium type thing, and this group of doctors developed CBIT. So when we get down to the nitty-gritty, like if you are a patient that is working with a CBIT provider, what's happening? You know, what do you got going on? What's occurring in these sessions, right? You're typically going in when you are experiencing bothersome tics, and there's specific ones that you want to work on finding competing responses for and helping to lower the severity. So when you're in these CBIT sessions, you know, the basis of what this is, it starts with psychoeducation, funny big word, to kind of describe that if you don't really know a ton about your condition, like psychoeducation is typically like a first step. Doctors will teach you about Tourette Syndrome, and you learn a little bit more about it. A lot of CBIT providers that I know personally like to introduce that part first. But then you get to like the CBIT part, and it's based around training the patient to be more aware of their tics. And by that, I don't just mean they're being like, oh yeah, like, did you know you have Tourette Syndrome? Let's think about that some more. You know, let's just like remember that in our daily lives. No, it's not like that. Like, we don't need a freaking reminder. It's sure there. This whole being aware of the tics has more to do with like the specific tic. So say you go to a CBIT provider and you're like, I have this really bothersome tic where I'm having to move my arms up like this and hit into my upper arm with my bottom arms. The bottom half of my arms, you know? You're like, hey, I have this tic, it's bothering me, it's happening. Well, what your CBIT provider would probably start out with helping you with is being aware of when you're about to do that tic, what your premonitory urge feels like, and like where you're feeling it. So for instance, for me, this tic is, this is one of my tics. It's not a bothersome tic for me. But when I'm about to do this tic, the premonitory urge, I can feel it through here. When you identify the premonitory urge and like the place and where you feel it and really what the urge is causing your body to do, you're able to like kind of locate the essence of the tic. Like, so you know that like the thing that the tic is making you need to feel is, you know, these muscles. You're identifying where within the tic the premonitory urge is being satisfied and completing the tic cycle, right? So that may be a bit confusing and maybe like a lot of information for people who aren't really like, don't already have like a good basis understanding of Tourette Syndrome. But essentially, like, to put it in the most like layman's terms as it's possible, person with Tourette, feel thing. Person with Tourette, identify where feel thing is. Person with Tourette, is about to do tick thing, and tick thing is coming around where the feel thing is thinging. I don't even know if, I think that made less sense. Anyway, now that we've become really aware of the tic and the premonitory urge and the bones and the essence of it, the CBIT provider uses something called habit reversal training, and you work together to find a competing response to employ when you feel that premonitory urge that you've become really aware of. So, what does that look like in this example? The competing response has to be something that is like the opposite of the tic or fights back against what the tic is. And so through CBIT, you're not like being told to suppress or learning to suppress. You are replacing your tic that is coming after your premonitory urge with something with the competing response.
Hello, I'm the premonitory urge. Clocking in for work today. All right, bud, I'm the tic coming in to work with you. Let me just see about clocking in here. Actually, I think I'll be clocking in. Who the hell do you think you are? I'm the competing response. Whoa, things may look a little different at work today.
I'm just gonna let you guys figure this out.
I'll take it from here.
So back to this example, I'm identifying that the premonitory urge is through here, and the bones, the essence of the tic, what satisfies the premonitory urge is these two muscles tensing and moving, right? And so then maybe the competing response that the CBIT provider and I come up with is that my arms go out instead. It's a bit of an opposite movement, but it's still tensing these two muscles that I've identified are part of my premonitory urge and integral to, you know, satisfying that premonitory urge with a tic. And then on top of that, another big part of CBIT is that the CBIT provider works with you on finding like different things throughout your day that tend to trigger and make your tics worse, and helps you, and they like help you make lifestyle changes and adaptations to try to put you in less situations that make your tics worse, or rather like not completely like taking things away from your life. It's like adapting those things to work better for you and your Tourette's. So that's CBIT. I feel like I both really went in depth with some parts of it, but then also like did not give it the full shebang, in a sense that like, I kind of did like I did an overview of what CBIT kind of looks like, but there's, you know, just a lot to it. To put this into perspective, my job, like around 4 years ago now, was that I actually helped organize CBIT trainings for medical providers. And these trainings are typically like 1.5 days long, like over the course of 2 days, and are also followed by like follow-up mentor calls and whatnot. So it takes a lot more than a couple minutes in a YouTube video to really learn how to do CBIT. And I'm not a CBIT provider, like I'm not a medical professional. Actually, funnily enough, the beginning of my love affair with New York City was my first ever business trip in my entire life was up here to New York City, and we put on a CBIT training in Jamaica, Queens. And then from there it was history. I was like, oh my gosh, pack it up. One day I'm gonna live here, you know, I'm gonna be in the city, and now I live in Queens. So kind of beautiful when you think about it, how CBIT has interfaced with my life in that way. You know, I don't know if the person who asked me to talk about CBIT wanted all of that information, but now you have it. So, all right, the next thing we're gonna go over is tics and driving. Now I'm reining in my gals, Brittany and Janelle, to help me talk about this a little bit. I invite you to hear from Janelle.
Driving with tics can be interesting. For the most part, I typically am able to kind of like focus on the road, focus what I'm doing so that I don't tic as much. And then if I am having like a heavier tic day, then I'll try to hold my tics a bit until I get to like a stoplight where I'm able to let them out. Whenever I come to like standstill traffic, if there's a bunch of like lanes closed and everybody's getting off the highway or something, that I will kind of end up having like a mini tic attack. But for the most part, I'm okay with driving. I just kind of try to focus on the music, focus on the road, focus on something else so that my tics subside until I get to a stoplight where I'm able to let them out.
Golf clap. Wait, what is a golf? Wonderful, Janelle. I don't really know. Actually, I was just at a golf outing. I don't know what a golf clap is. I don't know why I'm focusing on that either, but Yes. So now let's hear from Brittany, who actually has like a very different response from both Chanel's and mine.
Driving with tics and Tourette syndrome, it's actually changed a lot for me over the last just like few years. In 2023, I couldn't drive for a lot of the year. Just wasn't a safe thing for me to do because of the way that my tics were, because of where I was at that time in my life. Right now, it is not super similar. I can drive for the most part because usually I'm concentrated on the road, and so when I'm concentrated on something, like a lot of other people, my tics tend to kind of sort of take a back seat, no pun intended. More recently, my back tics have gotten a lot worse, and I have to drive. When I drive, I kind of have to angle my back so that I am not as triggered, because when my full back is against the chair, the trigger to tic is much worse for me, and that can be really dangerous for me. A lot of the times I don't drive and my husband drives me, or if I have to go further places, I ride with whoever is driving at the time. I feel like I'm kind of sort of losing that independence more often than not lately, but at the same time, I don't necessarily particularly like driving. I would prefer it to be where like I get to choose that, like I am choosing it, but not really. My body is making that choice for me.
Yay, another clap for Brittany. What is a golf clap? Oh man, that triggered my clapping tic. That's funny. Okay, so my experience over the years has kind of been actually, funnily enough, like a meld of, you know, Janelle's experience currently and Brittany's experience currently. For me currently, I am really good with driving. I actually find that it's kind of a place of solace. That's one of those words, I swear, that I always read growing up, and I think I mispronounce it because I read the word a bunch of times before I ever heard it out loud. I have a lot of words like that. Anyway, back to the sentence I was saying. I find a lot of solace, or however you say that word, in driving. It has become one of those activities for me that's like a focus-based activity that helps me manage my tics. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's like the best focus-based activity and that it like always makes my tics better, but on average, I feel like, especially when I'm on like a long drive, like I'm super focused on the road. I have to focus on the road. I have music going. My brain is being perfectly stimulated and I'm like a good driver.
If you had to pick the one tic that would be the only tic I have for the rest of my life, what would it be?
Probably the I one. We gotta get you off these damn roads.
So it's a happy place for me a lot of the time. I do tend to tic a lot upon entering the car. I have been told by friends that even to this day, like my eye tic is a little bit scary for them to see when I'm driving, like to see me doing.
Maybe it's when you're driving and you do the eye tick. Stop! Driving.
But like, okay, I drive well. Like it's one of those things that my friends are like, oh wow, like that looks a little messed up. But also like I'm driving perfectly fine, because just like many things in my life, the way I drive is adapted to my tics and my experience with Tourette syndrome. Now, I have not always been this, you know, down for driving. Not all this down to take the wheel. There was a period during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic that, I mean, really, like my Tourette syndrome was worse. Everything was worse for me. Like it was in, you know, when you're in isolation, when there's all sorts of other things that are making you anxious, there's a lot going on during that time. And then I also experienced a traumatic event. It was just some bullshit, right? So a lot of my driving anxiety was actually just caused by my anxiety, and also had a bit to do with a traumatic experience I had during the pandemic. So I was just not in a good place. My partner at the time, did the majority, if not like all, of the driving. My tics affected my driving, but I would also really say that like that wasn't the impetus of what made my driving not the vibe at that time.
You're going to Crossroads, so
I'm a driver.
oh yeah.
I'm a driver.
I'm braking. You don't have any
What?
no makeup on.
Yeah. Let's see. When I pull thingy down and I do my dystonic tic, I can't see.
Okay, this next one is someone asking, If I could get rid of one co-occurring condition, which one would it be? And you know, questions like this are a little slippery for me because it's like a thought exercise on one hand and like something that's like never really gonna happen and whatnot. But then on the other hand, it's like, do I really want to talk about this? Because I'm much more about, you know, finding the ways to accept life with everything that comes within your brain. But the answer would be OCD. Okay, well, I think right now, actually, in recent years in my adulthood, especially after, oh my god, so much cognitive behavioral therapy, so much exposure therapy over the years, my OCD is actually pretty much chilling. I would take that away from younger Emma because it affected her life so heavily. I talked about this a little bit in my recent Q&A video, and I've talked about it in other avenues, but like like OCD can be such, like, it can be just debilitating. But yeah, also OCD does this wonderful thing where it is like besties with Tourette's. An example would be like when, say, I have to shrug my shoulders once, but my OCD makes me need to do things in 3s and 5s. So now I have to shrug my shoulders 3 times after the tic only really needed me to do it once, but the 3 times is happening because my OCD needs things to be done in 3s. It's a very tiring friendship that they have together. If you've seen the show Balin Out Loud, this is something that Balin kind of gets into a little bit, and you can see that like a lot of tics that she experiences, she has to do a number of times because of her OCD, and like you can see the ways that her compulsions and tics like hold hands and cause chaos. So yeah, I think that's my answer for like overall life, but if I'm thinking about like right now, I mean probably depression, but that's just because depression more recently in life is the co-occurring condition that has affected me the most. And screw depression! Screw you, my enemy, depression. So that doesn't tell you how I feel about it.
Hi, how can I help you, sir? Miss, whatever. Oh, hello. I'm here to enlist. Enlist in what? Why, the battle against depression, of course. Wait, did you just like hear the term battling depression and you think it's like, do you think it's like the real battle? Because it's not. I would like to battle now, please. No, like you can't do that. Okay. I'll see you on the flip side after I take care of this. Depression, count your days. Count them. Ow.
Okay, and this next part, we kind of talked about tics and pain in the last video I made, but I wanted to bring Janelle and Brittany in to answer a little bit of like that from their perspectives, because I know this is like a question a lot of people ask a lot. Like it's one of those things that I'm like constantly being asked, and I want to keep constantly being able to give people new and extensive, like more answers. One of my answers in the last video was an electric heating pad and
An electric heating pad. This one's really nice because it goes like, it like wraps around you, and these things are magnetized, these little front pieces. Sorry, camera's crazy, but super nice. And then that way it stays hot for a really long time. I also use ice packs from time to time too.
Brittany agrees. Brittany also has some other good advice.
When it comes to pain from tics, I have like 3 basic like best friends, if you want to call it, in my arsenal. First one being roll on biofreeze. This stuff is a lifesaver. It helps so much, especially my neck tics. I get so tense in my neck and my shoulders because of my back tics, my neck tics, all of it. Love this stuff. And then my third one being, I don't have it in here because I'm in my bedroom, but Dr. Teal's bath salts. The lavender Soothe and Sleep is super wonderful, not only for muscle pain, but for relaxing at night when your tics are bad. But then they also have, you know, the other magnesiums and all of those. Super, super great. And that's what I lean on a lot on bad tics days when I'm having a lot of pain from them.
And then Janelle is into similar creams and salves as me.
When it comes to dealing with pain from tics, the tips that I would provide would have to be, number 1, get a pain relief gel, cream, something like that, balm, because unfortunately when we tic and then that area of our body is in pain from ticking so much, from motor tics, and then we continue to tick even though there's pain there, there's not yeah, a ton of things. You can't sit there and say, oh, just rest and the tics will go away, because obviously we know that's not true. Some type of pain relief cream, like a Tiger Balm, Biofreeze, something like that.
We're cream and salve girlies. We're cream and salve girlies. But then also Janelle has some other great tic pain advice.
I also, sometimes if I'm having like a lot of eye tics and then I'm kind of getting like headaches or eye strain, I'll wet a rag with warm water or cold water, just depending on what I'm feeling I'm needing to try to help. And sometimes I'll do that for the back of my neck as well, with a lot of like neck tics and different things like that.
And you know what? I'll bring it into the conversation again. Stretching. Stretching is helpful. Whenever I tell people that I stretch every morning and night, they're like, oh wow, like, they say like, oh wow, like that's excessive. And I'm like, no, it's not, because it actually helps me so much. And I can do a split, which I used to be able to do when I was a dancer. Now I can do it again.
Proof! If anyone was wondering or suspicious.
It's really just like a party trick at this point, but that's cool. It's more rare for me to pull muscles from tics, and I got a party trick. Woohoo! I need to figure out how to say solace. Solace or solace? Wait, it's gotta be solace. Comment below. It's gotta be solace. I think it's solace, right? Please feel free to comment questions below that I will answer for you. And also leave this video a like. Please, pretty please. Pinky promise me you will. Pinky promise me you will. Okay? Alright? Are we locking pinkies? Alright, if you break a pinky promise, you go to hell. My mom and I have said that for most of my life. So, we're not joking. We're not. Thank you for liking the video, okay? Thanks, Twitches. Bye!
Solace. Solace.